All right, let's talk about your defeats and victories. Jefferson's still serving as an advisor to Madison, and he advises Madison to attack Canada first so that we can try and push back the British as well as potentially take some land. We call it a mere battle of marching because we have so many more people than the Canadians. We attack Canada 3 times in a row and we lose all 3 times. We do not have a trained militia. We are, again, disunited. That means we have different groups coming from different states all at different times. We're not successful in this endeavor, and we're going to lose a major city. We're going to lose Detroit to the British Navy and the Native Americans. We will win it back the following year, but you have to remember, we're still going against the British Army. Britain may own Canada, and we may be fighting the Canadians, but the British Navy is still the most successful in the world. So we do terrible with Canada. We try to go to war at sea. We make 3 major warships, the President, the United States, and the Constitution. That should show you how nationalistic we're feeling right now. And they're going to help win battles against the British Navy, but you have to remember, again, the British are stronger. So what the British do is they go and they block all of the ports. So let's look at what this map looks like. Here's all the British little ships. They set up a blockade. So look at how they're set up. They are blocking all of the paths to get any sort of material out of the United States. Up here on the Great Lakes is where we had gone to go and fight against Canada. Again, we're not really able to maintain the Great Lakes. We don't have the technology. The British and the Canadians are stronger. Then, much to our dismay, the British are going to strengthen. So in 1814, Napoleon, remember Napoleon's the leader of France, he had been defeated. So up until this point, Britain had been fighting a 2-front war. They had been fighting France back at home and Napoleon, and they were fighting us. Now that Napoleon's gone, that means the only group Britain has to focus on is us. That does not look good for us since we're not even winning the war when Britain's fighting a 2-front war. So Britain is going to send its massive naval power to attack specific places. They're going to attack Maryland. They're going to attack New York. They're going to attack DC. They're going to attack Louisiana. All of our major ports are going to be attacked. This is where James Madison is actually going to have to flee because the British are going to burn the White House down. Almost all American ships are going to get stuck in their ports because the blockade is too strong to let them go out. So that means we are not going out to trade. We are not making any money. We are having problems at home getting anything in that we need. We are done. At the same time, during the burning of the White House, this is where we're going to get our famous Star-Spangled Banner. So if you hadn't clicked the YouTube video yet, go ahead and watch it. It is, of course, Whitney Houston because she's a goddess. So we can listen to her sing the national anthem, which is the Star-Spangled Banner. That song is written about what is happening at Fort Henry and the raid on Baltimore. So it describes the pictures that are being seen. It describes the atmosphere, and that's why it's so powerful and is used as our national anthem. All right, fast forward to the Battle of New Orleans. So this actually happens after the war is over, but remember, communication at the time is super slow. So let's talk about what happens. This guy named Andrew Jackson, who we'll be getting to in a little bit because he'll eventually become president, is in charge of the army in the South. He's in charge with fighting off the Native Americans who are helping the British to attack us. So his focus is going to be in Alabama towards Louisiana so that he can help fend off all of the natives and make it to the port of New Orleans to help open it up. So in January of 1815, the war is technically over. You're going to have British troops attack New Orleans. And this is going to set the stage for Andrew Jackson to go and do his own attack. So Andrew Jackson is going to use cotton bales to shield himself and his men. They're going to hide themselves and attack these British. And in a whopping victory of 71 casualties to 2,036 casualties, Jackson is going to end up symbolizing that strong American nationalized person. He'll come out of this a war hero, and we do stir up those national sentiments throughout the United States. It would not be surprising to see any sort of newspaper headline was something like Jackson forced the British to make peace. So this is where he's going to get his real big popularity as a general, and it'll eventually make him strong enough to become a House representative, a senator, and then president of the United States. All right, after about 2.5 years, the war is going to wind down, mostly because neither side can continue fighting. Britain and the US are going to send diplomats to meet in a third party country, Belgium, to sign what's called the Treaty of Ghent on December 24th, 1814. And what they both end up signing is basically an armistice, which means that both sides halt all fighting. If America had taken any land from Canada, they have to return the land. If Britain had taken anything from the United States, they have to return it. It's basically a giant reset button that ends everything, and we go back to how things were in 1812 when we were about to start the war. Now, here's what's important to note about this war. This is the second time we have fought Britain, and we did not lose. Now, that's not to say that we won. I mean, we lost tons of money in this. We lost lives. Nothing was actually given back in terms of impressed soldiers or kidnapped soldiers. Nothing was made up in terms of ships being destroyed. We literally just pressed a reset button. But because we didn't lose, we are going to change the story to fit the US ideology. What I mean by that is we are going to say, hey, we've beat the British back 2 times now. That must mean we are a superior country. We start to call this a noble defense of the US against British aggression, basically pointing fingers at Britain for starting this whole thing and us finishing it. So we're changing the story to fit this new nationalism ideology. Again, like I said, we don't address any of the issues that actually happen. We pretty much just agree, hey, we're tired. We can't afford to pay for this anymore. So we're going to stop. After the tensions are going to be settled, we're going to answer some questions that hadn't been answered before. Under the Treaty of Ghent, we're going to draw a line between us and Canada that limits warships on the Great Lakes. It's called the Rush-Bagot Treaty or Agreement, and it's the longest unfortified boundary that we have. We set it at the 54th parallel. Then in 1818, we're going to draw the boundary of the Louisiana Territory at the 49th parallel. And in 1818, we're going to have the Oregon Territory split between us and Britain. Because it's so far away, way out in the west, we are not going to worry about it for right now. We're going to share with Britain for 10 years. We'll come back to that later on. So here's what that looks like. This is the new boundary that we have drawn to end Louisiana. This is the boundary up here between the pink and the green that we draw to make Canada know where Canada ends and us know where we end. And this is going to be the area that we share called Oregon country with Great Britain for 10 years. So when we start talking about something called Manifest Destiny, where we're expanding later on, we'll come back to this map. But everything that's in yellow, the United States now owns, and we're not going to have any problems with it. We do have a political party that's going to be facing a problem at the end of this war. Which party opposed the war? Can you remember back to that? And the party you should think of is the Federalist Party. Now, remember back to what Federalists stand for. They were your merchants, your industrialists, your trading partners. They were mostly in New England or in the North area. They wanted to keep trade open with Britain. So that's why they had opposed the war in the beginning. Because the war was so badly injuring all of our merchants and people who did business in New England, there was a secret meeting concocted in Hartford, Connecticut, which came to be known as the Hartford Convention. And what they were discussing there was nothing less than treason. It was your business guys who came together to try and make a separate peace with Great Britain so that they could start trading again, because the war, because of the blockade, had not allowed for trade to happen smoothly. If you remember, though, December 1814 is when we're also negotiating our peace treaties with the Treaty of Ghent. So news of this meeting, which is treasonous, is going to reach DC at the same time that peace is going to reach DC. So when Madison hears about the war ending, but then also a group making a separate peace, he is absolutely livid. So this event right here is going to kill the Federalist Party. You're not going to see many more Federalists in existence. Everybody's going to join the other party, the Democratic Republicans. So if you look here, this is kind of our end sentiments and how we can see things play out. You've got your nationalist revolutionary pictures coming out. You've got all your soldiers looking like they're ready to fight. You've got the American flag flying. That is our nationalism. And here is your last thing on your sheet. It is your causes and effects. So this is just a review. The causes of the War of 1812 is British impressment. That was the kidnapping of sailors. You had international conflict over commerce. That was where Britain and France were attacking our ships, not letting anything get traded. And you had British military aid to Native Americans. That's where the British gave guns to the natives to fight us out west. The effects. Now, this is the big thing that you need to remember for Madison and the War of 1812. France and Britain finally leave us alone. It has taken this long for them to leave us alone. We're going to see a rise in nationalism, that pride, because yet again, we're Americans. We beat the British back for a second time, and we are still strong as ever. Our manufacturing is going to increase. During the time of the blockade, when Britain had blocked all of our ports, the only thing we had to do was make our own stuff. So because of that, we're going to see a rise in U.S. manufacturing. And then Native American resistance declines. Thanks to us beating back the Native Americans again on the frontier, they are going to be broken up and it's going to be harder for them to take over. We've taken more land, and so they are not going to resist as much anymore. Here's the last couple of things. Here's your 13 states where we started. This is where we're at now. We've got all this land. We are working our way out west. We have settled this area and we are starting to get out even further. Don't worry about doing anything here. This is just to kind of help you out if you want to on a separate sheet or on your own document. This will help you kind of organize yourself by presidents in case you want to keep things in your head as we keep learning more and more. So if you guys have any questions, as always, you can email me, you can email Mr. Payne. We're both available. We will be announcing our Q&A regarding these three presidents, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, in the next coming days. So be prepared. Hopefully you guys have done the work, and I can't wait to see you guys on Zoom. See you soon.